Alright guys, TacticalRab again today. Hope you're all doing well and enjoying your day so far. After much recent speculation, ZooMaa has revealed that more likely than not, the flank watch party will not be attending at the very least the first event of the season and potentially others as well. This aligns with what Scump said about his own watch party not that long ago and represents a serious, you could argue, stifling of content within the competitive space. It all comes down to the CDL YouTube deal. Could the CDL step in to try and make some resolutions here? Very much intrigued to your thoughts in the comments below. Hit the like button if you enjoy. Subscribe if you're new. As always, I would greatly appreciate it. First of all, a couple of things to mention here. FaZe have, as you might have expected, been doing some scrims over the last couple of days. They did play a game against, the Houston Spartans yesterday. We'll see how they got on there. We'll also say, though, that we saw the FaZe Black team in action. This is Brack, Kremp, Exceed, and Asim. They played up against the Heretics guys, and actually, they 100-point clubbed Heretics here on the terminal, so that was kind of impressive. Look, new terminal is kind of weird, not gonna lie, with the way the spawns work. There's definitely some questions on that at the moment. But also, we did see Temp's team scrim FaZe. This is kind of interesting in some ways just because, you know, people wonder, okay, should FaZe be scrimming amateur teams? Should they not be grinding up against, pro teams a lot of the time? Obviously, it's good for Temp's team. They get the opportunity to do this. But I'm not gonna lie, Temp's team looks decent. Houston Spartans, a reasonable amount of the time. When they play FaZe, they get a mega slammed. It's actually criminal. And I know that Temp gets maybe frustrated that when they're playing FaZe, they're getting slammed, they're getting frustrated, they're complaining about it mid-map, and then it spirals out of control. You can also argue, though, like, are FaZe actually getting any good practice from scrims like this? I mean, they put them in the 30-point club here on Skid Row. I'm guessing, surely they started bad side and then got clowned on for the first rotation, then it was chalked, which I'm guessing is what happened here. But still, it's not pretty, is it really? Simp drops 25 and 9. They were all like double positive, basically, and they get chucked in the 27-point club, 250 to 26 here on the Skid Row. So I'm not really sure if FaZe learn much from this, and maybe there's thoughts that, well, should FaZe just stop scrimming these guys? But then again, there's some teams right now over this period that aren't really practicing all that much. I think, Pred's back in Australia, isn't he? So OpTic, of course, don't have the chance to practice, at least for now. So FaZe are getting some reps in, but you can argue whether those are good reps or bad reps. And also you can argue whether this team Temp that's, theoretically at the upper end of challenges is really in a position to do much damage when the challenger season maybe eventually gets underway. We don't really know still what's happening over there, but it will be aligned somewhat with Boston's Major 1. There will be a challengers tournament there. That's been confirmed by all parties unless things change. Now, before we get into that, we've got to mention this though from BenJimboNissim. His account on COD yesterday was put under review and therefore banned from playing for the immediate term for what seems to be potential cheating accusations. If you guys have ever seen BenJimboNissim play COD, I think you'll know full well this guy ain't hacking, but maybe the shot was just too straight and the anti-cheat measures decided to step in. So as we can see here under review for MW3, MW2 and Warzone, your account is being reviewed to determine a potential violation. Unfortunately, we are unable to inform you when the review process will be complete. You may check back in periodically on changes to a temporary or permanent suspension. It's kind of unbelievable stuff that, apparently Ben was slamming kids so bad in quads in Warzone that I think they all reported, which is pretty interesting that maybe it's the case that Ben got spam reported by a team they slammed, and his account got reported to such an extent that it's now under review and pending further investigation. I must say, I do wonder whether this has anything to do with, I don't know if you guys remember a little while ago, people were joking as well that a J standing for Jimbo, right? BenJimboNissim, which is how all this went down. But we know full well that I think at some point, was it a couple of months ago, Ben was letting Cellium play on his account. Wasn't that the case? That Cell was playing in 8s or something or other on BenJimboNissim's account. I think that was the case anyway. So I'm not sure if that would be relevant just because that was quite a long time ago now, but you can imagine a world in which the anti-cheat or whatever measures that Activision have in place saw BenJimboNissim's typical accuracy numbers and KD numbers and all this type of stuff, and then saw what happened when someone else was playing on the account, and maybe that was flagged as a potential, I don't know, was that flagged as a potential violation that coincidentally for a couple of days BenJimboNissim's account was absolutely cooking kids? I think it was right when the game launched, wasn't it? Something like that anyway. And okay, nothing happened at the time, and now maybe after he got mass reported by somebody, then because there was a previous kind of suspect instance a couple of months ago, then his account's under review. I don't know. Hopefully it's all going to get cleared up. But as Parasite probably rightly says, that there's going to be hackers in ranked play. I'm sure there's going to be hackers in Warzone and all the other game modes that can roam free the entire year, no problem. But, BenJimboNissim is the one getting shadow banned. So kind of a roast here on Ben, but I get it, right? And it is going to be frustrating. Even, I mean, look, you guys know how these streamer cheats goblins are on the Twitter timeline, really. But this guy's talking about how the COD pros get the cheats early and the devs make them and the COD pros get to download them, all this type of stuff. But I thought it was pretty funny from Afro here. He says, oh, no way. Our time might be up. But BenJ put us in the heat. So it's all BenJ's fault that other pros are getting had a look at. And even there was a few comments going around about Weebad over the last couple of days as well. So, cheating drama is only ever just around the corner. But we've got to talk about this. Big talking point really on the live watch parties. Last year, ZooMaa's The Flank and of course Scump's watch party for most of the events did a live tour. They went to all the events in person. And it was fantastic stuff. The events are such a good buzz, so much fun. And also, it's better content really at the event because you can sit down, you can get the players after they've played a match, come and sit down on the couch, have a chat about it, do the event live. There's lots of positives. Now, to be fair, in Boston last year, I know that they did have some difficulties a little bit just because I'm pretty sure the venue at Boston, the MGM Musical or whatever, closed very shortly after the matches were over. So they were only able to do a flank episode of like 25-30 minutes because they were basically getting kicked out. So that was a bit of an issue last year, and I don't imagine that's going to be magically resolved this year. So there are some benefits to doing it from home where you don't have to worry about it. But in general, the content in person is definitely better, and ZooMaa clearly would love to do that again. Do the flank tour. Scump did it for every event last year but Boston, I believe. Maybe they didn't do it for like Major 4 in Columbus or whatever because that was just like a weird local event they did because the New York thing got cancelled, and Scump wasn't in Boston because of the travel issues. They were going to make it there out from Texas, but then everything went down the pan because the weather was not particularly compliant and all the flights got cancelled. It was an absolute mess. And of course, the first event of the year in Raleigh, Scump was playing, so that wasn't a thing then. But it's been a massive point for the last couple of years. The flank will still remain as it is, but ideally, ZooMaa and co would love to do this in person at the majors yet again. But the reasons why they're not going to be doing so really come down to the YouTube deal as it has now gone through. So I'll share this clip here from ZooMaa and the one from Scump that was from a couple of weeks back now when Scump says that more than likely this will be the case as well. And I kind of, my understanding is that OpTic more than likely are in the same boat here to ZooMaa. Like, they probably won't do the watch party in person at the events this year. They'll just do it from their own setup back in Texas, which I think is, maybe it's not the end of the world, but it is a big loss, I would say, to the community in part. And it's a real shame that the CDL can't seemingly come to some sort of resolution here to make this work from what I would imagine is a financial perspective. So I'll share what ZooMaa has to say. Scump seems to be on the same opinion. There's also a bit of an Easter egg in this that maybe you guys can spot as well.
I mean, today I let Boston know of like, hey, here's a heads up, like there's a possibility this doesn't happen, so we'll see. Yeah, maybe we can bridge a gap. I think for Florida, like at worst, we have some plan B's, that's all I'll say.
Close to me, literally on me.
Yeah, we'd be out here thinking.
I don't know. We'll see, bro. We'll see, man. Most likely, no. By the way talks have been going recently, most likely not.
Yeah, we need a 180 a little bit here.
Yeah.
Need some progress.
Which, I'm gonna be honest, bro. I like doing shows at home, bro. I like being home. I don't mind watching online. It's obviously cool to be there. But I don't think it's that big of a deal, to be honest with you, bro. I think it'll be fine. I think it'll be fine.
We definitely lose a little. Like, here's my thing is, like, there's a world where we could, like, send one person to go to the event.
The events just hit different, bro. It's just like to do, like, a world, like, to do what we did last year would be awesome. And it just sucks.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? Like, at the end of the day, it just sucks.
Yeah.
Like,
it sucks, yeah.
Actually, we don't know if we're going to events anymore. What? I mean... We don't know if we're going yet. We have to like talk it over and figure some shit out, but we don't know if we're going this year.
No way.
Because that's like 6 days. 6 extra days that we can't stream on Twitch. So like we gotta figure it out.
So if you guys spotted it, Doug brought up the scoreboard in the background and he had 7 kills. So I thought that was quite nice. So Doug drawing a 7 there, but. To my understanding is what this really comes down to is moving the CDL to YouTube. The watch parties are still allowed, which is good. So let's not forget, pre-YouTube deal this time around and pre-Twitch last season, watch parties weren't a thing. Back in the early part of the CDL YouTube era, they were only very occasionally done when the CDL would allow Nick Merckx or would allow, like Vikkstar, I think did a couple, didn't he, for Ravens back in the day. They were very rarely, maybe like Tim the Tatman did a couple, allowed to do the watch parties. But now, since the Twitch thing and since watch parties have become a big deal, these are allowed even on YouTube. The problem is that you don't really make any money at YouTube streaming. It can be done, you know, and they're still making good money, I'm sure, from the ad revenue, but compared to what it is on Twitch, it really is just absolutely no comparison. Like, when you've got a big Twitch stream, the amount of money you can make is just obscene compared to what you can do on YouTube. And I don't exactly know what ZooMaa's revenue is or what Scump's revenue is doing the watch parties on YouTube, but it's an absolute minuscule fraction of what they get on Twitch. Now, it's still good content. It's still the best thing for them to do. But from a financial perspective, comparing last season to this season, it's really not a comparison at all. And the Scump watch party, sure, it's a Scump show, but I imagine that in part it's an OpTic show, right? They do this on Scump's Twitch channel. They did last year. And I imagine Scump's making the bulk of the cash. But like, this show generates, I'm sure, obscene amounts of money. Like, the amount of ad revenue that you can get on Twitch by playing an ad to 40,000 viewers is just ridiculous. And you've got the actual subculture on Twitch. Sure, on YouTube, you've got super chats, you've got memberships and stuff like this, and there is some ad revenue, but it's not the same as it can be on Twitch if you've got a big stream. So I'm sure that OpTic is an organization, because, you know, Hex is on here, the guys are on here, Method, Zinni, like Bose, okay, Method and Zinni are the same person, you know what I mean? Like, I'm sure that there was something, it's kind of an OpTic show more than just a Scump show, and therefore they can't necessarily afford, as Scump or the organization, to lose out on so much revenue. The point that you've got to understand from like a content creator's point of view is, if you're a Twitch streamer and you're a big Twitch streamer, you can make a lot of money doing that. But it's very much that if you're not live on Twitch at all times, you are effectively losing money, because if you're not live, you basically might as well be dead. Like, you don't exist on the platform if you're not live on Twitch. So you're losing subs, you're losing potential ad revenue, and I think that mentally that's quite a taxing thing for some of these guys. And in ZooMaa's case, to go to the events, to stream on YouTube the entire time you're there, to travel for the 2 days there and back, those are 2 days you can't be streaming from home. Those are 2 days you have to pay for the travel consequences. You know, you have to pay for the hotels, pay for the travel, pay for the other guys to go as well. Like, you know, Aches has got to be there, Parasite's got to be there. Now, like, Octane's joining the crew as well. So there's a lot of expenses involved in making this happen. And that's probably fine if you can stream on Twitch the entire time and absolutely rake it in. But that's not going to be the case if you're streaming on YouTube, and therefore you're also sacrificing other days where you could stream on Twitch to compensate for that. So it's like, that's what I like about making YouTube videos, is that I can make the videos in the morning, go off and do whatever I want for the rest of the day type thing, and they still exist on the platform. Like, people can watch them whenever. But on Twitch, that's not the case. So you kind of have to be live, or you're making no money, and basically you're kind of losing money because your sub count's going down. This is the issue that Twitch streamers have to deal with, and this is why it being on YouTube means that for ZooMaa and for the Scump guys, it makes more sense actually just to stay home and not go to the events, which I think is a shame from many angles, and Zoom would love to do it in person. I wonder exactly what BenJimboNissim is getting at when he says that they're working on a plan B, because he kind of says that they could do it in Miami. Like, in Florida, he says they could probably do it. So I'm not exactly sure why. My question, I guess, to the CDL would be, why can't they support these guys to do this stuff in person? I know full well that certain individuals, content creators from, you know, slightly adjacent stuff to competitive Call of Duty, have been paid obscene amounts of money to attend the events over the last few years and promote them. But apparently, the two biggest content creators we have in the scene in Scump and ZooMaa don't get to attend the events because the CDL won't finance it. I'm guessing that's the point, right? Because if the CDL said, all right, guys, like, we'll pay for you guys to go, we'll pay for the travel, pay for the accommodation, this type of stuff, then it would probably make sense for them to do so. And I don't know if Ben's trying to have conversations like that, but as ZooMaa says, well, if nothing changes, if the conversations we're having don't change, it ain't going to happen. We're not going to Boston. So this is the thing where the CDL they have money, you know, they have budget to make this stuff happen if they wanted to. But I guess their theory is, well, you know, Scump's going to bring in those viewers anyway. ZooMaa's going to bring in those viewers anyway. Why should we waste the money? And I get that. But at the same time, you've got to support the content creators if you want the content creators to support you. So it is a bit of a shame. Look, I love going to the events. I'll be at this one in Boston. I'm going to try and get to as many as I possibly can this year. We're also going to try and do our own, like, watch party thing from the venue and get that all set up. So I wonder exactly how that's going to work. I know the Flank and the Scump guys have done a great job on that over the last year or so, but hopefully some sort of resolution can be found here. But very much interested in your thoughts in the comments below. Hit the like button if you enjoyed, subscribe if you're new, take care, and I'll see you next time.